Hello there and welcome to the video. We interrupt the schedule I was going for. I was going to make an opening video, but this brilliant move by Chucky threw a spanner in the works. So we are going to look at this game between Ivanchuk and Jorden van Forrest, played at the World Team Championship. Well, today. And this game featured one of the most brilliant moves I've seen in a while. Absolutely fantastic. Stick around, you need to see this move. So Ivanchuk has white, Jorden van Forrest black. It's Ukraine against the Netherlands. D4 by Chucky, D5, C4, E6. The Queen's Gambit declined. Knight C3 and now C5. So Jorden van Forrest goes for the Taras defense of the Queen's Gambit declined. And here after C takes D5, he takes on D5. The move C takes D4 has been seen recently a lot. The handing Shara Gambit. And I can point to the game Hans Niemann against Max Warmerdam. Warmerdam also a teammate of Jorden van Forrest, so who knows, he might know a thing or two about C takes D4, but to check out the fun game between Niemann and Warmerdam in this line, which I'll link to. But none of that today. Van Forrest took on D5 with the pawn. Chucky develops, Knight F3, Knight F6, and now not the most common move, but Chucky plays solidly here with E3, A6, and now Chucky plays B3, intending to fianchetto this bishop, which looks not suspect, but we need to be careful about some quick mobilization. If you take on D4 and then bring the bishop and the queen and the knight, there could be some pressure on C3, but obviously Chucky has that all covered, doesn't worry about that, and probably because he's figured out a way to defend against that. So black just continues to develop. Knight C6, the most common move, bishop to B2, bishop to G4, bishop E2, and now black takes on F3. He gives up the bishop pair, but in return he takes on D4, and now we have these kind of equally weak pawns. Perhaps this one is slightly weaker because we have a light square bishop and black does not have one to defend the pawn. But black has avoided any funny business with an isolated pawn, so he's hoping his position is solid here. Bishop B4, both sides castle, and now knight A4. This position was reached one time before by Mamedyarov, and he played A3 here in this position and won his game. But Chucky plays knight to A4. Rook E8 and knight to C5. And now B6. And this is the first new move of the game. Previously, knight E4 had been played in a game between Shlaktenko and Amburgi in Cherry Hill 2021. I do not know these players. So B6 kicks the knight back to D3. Now black does not want to give white the full bishop pair, but taking on B4, so he retreats with bishop to D6. Now Chucky puts the rooks on the open files, and Van Forrest does the same. And now knight E4. And here Chucky is very flexible with his rooks. He plays rook E2. So this means he can sometimes double on the C file and sometimes start doubling on the E file. So keeping things flexible. Queen D7. Connecting the rook, but also eyeing and taking control of this square. There's no bishop G4, rook E to C2. So now bishop G4 might be on the agenda, so the knight actually retreats, knight to F6. G3 now by Ivanchuk, and this starts a nice maneuver. White has doubled here on the C file, and I really like this maneuver here. Bishop G2 by Chucky, rook G7 and queen F1, setting up a new queen and bishop battery. Eyeing the H3 square, and black can't prevent us from putting the bishop on H3. And the bishop on H3 actually does a good job because it controls C8 and will not allow black to double himself on the C file. So white might gain control of the C file. Here rook E7 was played, bishop H3 and queen to E8. And now white sort of has set up the maximum pressure possible, so he tries to utilize that and gets the knight to a nice square on E5. And all of a sudden black is in a bit of a pickle here, because in the game he played knight B8, which is the best move. His problem is that it's difficult to resolve the tension, because if we take on e5, d takes e5, and we're in trouble here. There's a fork, and if we resolve the fork by taking, we can take on c7. And once the bishop takes back, rook takes first or bishop takes, this will hang in the end. So that's not good. Also, if we try to flick and rook takes c2 first, we will find out that the c8 square here is ripe for white to attack. Rook c8 wins the queen. The queen is lined up here against the king, so a rook landing here is devastating. So that's quite an important feature of the position, this rook landing on c8, as we'll see. Knight b8. And now, utilizing this weakness on the c file, Chucky plays another nice move, bishop to a3. And look at these very nice bishops. Very good. And now, well, the bishop is under attack on pre, but we can't take it because this hangs. So what can black do? If we flick in this one, we get the same thing. There's the problem on c8. Maybe this was the best black could have done though. If he takes on a3, rook c8, but he can maybe defend with rook c7, although his pieces are very passive here, and white definitely has the upper hand with the bishop pair. Nice diagonals for the bishops, and yeah, a lot of things going for white. So Jorden played queen d8, protecting the bishop, intending to take, and then protect the rook, trying not to lose material. But here is where Chucky uncorks a super fantastic move. If you haven't seen it, you know, try to find it, but unbelievable. It's very rare that you see a piece go into a square that is protected 5 times and it actually works. But that's exactly what happened. Chucky played knight to d7. And that's just simply stunning. Maybe more stunning than Saudi Arabia beating Argentina, the World Cup, I don't know. But this is just fantastic. You know, all these pieces are eyeing the d7 square, but nothing can be done. In the game, he took with the e rook on d7. If he takes with the other rook, then once again, we see this trouble on the c8 square. We can actually start with this move because we're attacking a lot of stuff. We're attacking both rooks. And if you take back, then I have rook c8, and white wins. If either of the knights take, it looks like we can take on d6, but it's actually better to just take on c7, and then on e7. If the queen takes back, then rook takes c7, and white is at the exchange with a great position. So this applies to both knights, and of course the queen taking on d7 just loses material. So rook e takes d7 is what Van Forrest went for. And now Chucky takes on d6. Now I find out that, well, black is about to lose the control over c7. If he takes, rook takes d6 would be answered by rook takes c7, and still this threat would be in the air. So Van Forrest went with rook takes c2, rook takes, and rook takes d6, allowing his queen to be lost, but okay, at least getting a piece, a rook and a piece for it. But he should be lost here. Chucky correctly takes on a6, well, correctly according to the computer. I think a human would perhaps have liked to, you know, just keep this pawn, maybe play a move like queen d3. Just try to, you know, not give any counterplay. That's a very human thing to strive for. But queen a6 is probably correct because, well, we want to at some stage, you know, start pushing these pawns, get a pass pawn, and we should be able to control this pawn pretty easily. At least that's what Chucky figured. He played king g2, king g7, and now he started pushing b4, knight c2 hitting the pawn, the queen comes back, and the knight must move, knight to e1, knight to f3, and Chucky keeps playing good, queen to d1. The knight has to retreat. If we take on h2, king g2, and the knight is lost. Note that this square is under control of the bishop. So the knight went to e5, and Chucky played queen d4, hitting the knight, knight f3. And here, kind of an unfortunate move by Chucky. He could have played the move like queen c3, which hits the knight, prepares to penetrate here on c7. Should be all relatively easy to win. But he played queen f4, which looks good. I mean, we're attacking this, we're attacking this. But this allows a nice tactic by black. He plays knight e4. Directly protecting the rook, but indirectly protecting the knight, because if we take it with the queen, there's knight d2, and there's a big fork. So Chucky gets out of the fork, but now he's allowing counterplay, king g2. He's allowing massive counterplay here, knight e1, king f1, and knight d3, hitting the queen, and now this pawn is going to drop, and that means that this knight is secure. Queen e3, knight d takes on f2, queen d4 check, and now Chucky starts running with the pawns. White should still be winning, but he should have allowed, not allowed the rook to become active. I think a move like bishop e7 is very solid here, not allowing rook c6, and then we keep on going with the pawns. Instead he puts the pawn immediately, and now the rook becomes active. Bishop a6, trying to shore up the defense. Czechoslovakia, the king moves, and knight g4. White should still be good, but with all these pieces around the king, it's a tense situation. Note that this pawn is indirectly defended on account of this check, and white should be winning after a move such as pawn to h3. In the game he played bishop d3. Pawn h3 though, it's difficult to see. You allow this check and everything is under control of the bishop f1. It looks like black is getting a lot of play here. He's threatening knight e2, winning the queen, but the queen simply moves, and at the end of the day you can't control, you can't protect all your pieces. If this knight moves, I'm going to give a check here and then pick up this guy. If you take on f1, either way, knight takes f1, I just take on g4, and there's no dangerous discovery. The a pawn will start running, and if you play rook takes f1, king g2, and basically all your pieces are attacked here. So h3 would have been nice, but bishop d3 was played, and now all of a sudden things are not all clear here. a5, logical, trying to push the pawn, rook d2, king g1, the best square for the king, but now knight e2 f2. And here Chucky blunders, which is very unfortunate given, the fantastic move and the concept he came up with in the middle game. Queen takes b6 sort of, keeps it complicated, I think, in a human game. The a pawn is still dangerous, but queen takes d5 was played, and this is just an outright blunder. And Van Forrest took his chance. He played knight h3 check, and now because I can't play king h1 on account of rook h2 checkmate, I have to put the king on f1, and that means knight e3 wins the queen. And there's simply nothing here for white. Rook d1, intermediate move. We take the queen, we get the rook, but there's knight f2, and knight takes d3. And unfortunately, there's no way to utilize the pawn. Chucky resigned. If he plays a6, we even have time to take this pawn because we're in time here with this knight. And same thing if, we don't really have any other way to do something like this. We even have time to take here because the knight gets back. So yeah, kind of a sad loss for Chucky after this fantastic move, knight to d7. A rare kind of tactic in tournament play to see a move like knight d7. I think in studies and problems, this is called a Novotny, and we recently saw a very nice such move in the game between Eric Aisi and Mamdyarov at the Meltwater finals. A very nice position here where Eric Aisi finished the game with bishop to e5, which is actually mate in 2 now. And yeah, this is called a Novotny, named after a problem composed by Novotny, man in 1800 or something. And basically the concept is he plays a piece on a square where it can be captured by 2 pieces, but no matter which way you capture, you sort of block the function of the other piece. So here, for instance, if you take with the rook, you block the function of the bishop, because now there's no bishop on the diagonal and you get mated. And if you take with the bishop, you block the function of this rook, and we can take here and you get mated. So very similar, this move, knight d7. It kind of blocks the pieces from doing what they're supposed to do. There's no more defense here. etc. And if you put something on d7, then you interrupted the defense of the rooks, etc. So a very nice move by Chucky. Again, yeah, shame he couldn't finish it off, but fantastic genius concept, which I think people will and should enjoy. See you hopefully soon. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.